Back here on Sportsline, right here on News Channel 5 Plus. Pleased and honored to be joined by WWE Hall of Fame announcer Jim Ross. Going to be at Zany's tomorrow night, along with Jerry the King Lawler. It's going to be a great night. Tickets still available, so you definitely want to check that out if you're free tomorrow night. And let's do some great stories, some great pro wrestling stories with JR and the King. Right now, we're gonna go out to our phone lines. We've got some people that want to talk to the legendary JR. Let's go to Cindy on line 1. Hey, Cindy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. JR and JL are two icons. I've watched them for years. When my grandmother used to take us to the fairgrounds to wrestling, and then they're just two of a kind. You can't beat them. And I don't know, maybe wrestling's just not as much as it used to be because all the good guys are kind of, moving on. These young guys just don't know what it is, but JR and JL sure do, and I love you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it, Cindy.
Appreciate you, Cindy. Yeah, you bet. That's
How
nice.
about that? I don't think it's so much that that today's wrestlers don't respect the business, but
no, I don't think
so. I think it's a different dynamic with these young guys
they have
now.
Different upbringing.
It's a different lifestyle. I mean, these guys. Let's face it. You go on the road and things happen on the road. These guys are going to bed. They're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're doing their CrossFit.
Right.
I mean, they're not so much performers as they are athletes. And I think what's been lost, and I'd love for you to chime in on this. I think what's been lost is the performance aspect of it. The belief of character. Yeah, it's great if you can do flips in the ring and all kinds of cool stuff, and we've seen it. We've seen some phenomenal athletes come down the pike the last 10 years or so, but give me a Stone Cold Steve Austin. Give me a guy like The Rock. Give me a guy, even a guy like Hogan that got you wrapped up in everything he was doing. Do you think that maybe has been lost a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely it has, because these young wrestlers are nothing more than products of the current environment. They were raised differently than a lot of guys before their predecessors. I can guarantee you that these kids today didn't have it as challenging as, say, Jackie Fargo or Jerry Lawler, where they wrestled on this circuit in the same markets in front of the same audience every week. Think about how hard it is to change your performance up. It's not like a band, we're just going to play our same songs.
Right.
They don't want to hear those songs. I heard them last week. Give me something else this week. So there's a great artisan level in that deal, but I just think it's basically a product, John, of the fact that these kids are raised differently. I hear it all the time. About athletics and college athletes. They're coming out entitled as a freshman. Yeah, 5-star rating, he's 4 stars. Already
getting recruited and offered scholarships by colleges, right?
Yeah, so it's like, it's a different lifestyle. It's a different way of raising children. And to be honest with you, I'm not all for this.
Yeah.
I believe in discipline and yes sir and no sir and yes ma'am and please and thank
values.
You. Dang right. So, and not to say these kids are that way, all of them. Some of them are, because they're just again it's a cross section of society.
Sure. In
a wrestling locker room, you see it all.
Yep.
So I will say that the business is better as far as race relations. It's better with the females getting more than just a cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
They're in the game, man. They're in the game to make some serious money. But I think the issue is that these kids, a lot of these kids have not had the role models and the life experiences to be on the road and to make, when I started working in wrestling, I made $125 a week.
It's good money back then.
$125 a week, all in now. There's no T&E,
right? No
insurance,
right?
No savings, 401k gone. $125 a week, make it stretch.
Yeah. I'm
newly married, wife number 1, and that shut down a lot of trips to the mall. We didn't have any money, and I was working every day. So because you had to be working every day to make. If you worked every day on the ring crew or whatever, you got a little bit more money. So I knew I was going to make 125, but most time it was I might make 150, maybe. I made more in 3 days in London a couple weeks ago than I made in my first 2 years in the wrestling business.
Wow.
Times are changing.
Times are changing. Let's go back to the phones and check in with Hiram on line 3. Hiram, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Hi, John. Hi, JR.
Hey,
I wanted to ask a quick question for you. Since they did a special show for the King in Nashville, if they do a 50th, would you cover that? And I miss y'all Monday night, you and the King on Raw. I wish this would bring y'all back. Thanks.
Thanks for the call.
where shall I start? What was the first part of that was, the King's 50. I look, anytime I can help Jerry, I will. Easy, he's my friend. That's what we old school guys do. We're friends. It's not about the payday.
Right.
Jerry and I makes it. We'll be totally transparent. We're both capitalists. We get a payday tomorrow night.
Sure.
But we get paid what we earn, not what we are guaranteed. What we earn, and but if it was nothing, I'm here, and I'd rather be with him doing the show. It's not about the payday on that deal. That may sound crazy. When I was young, it was all about the payday. All about the payday. And it's not that way now. I've been blessed with some good years in that regard. So anything I can do to help Jerry, 50th or whatever, I would do. I'm 66. He's 69. He'll be, I think, 70 in February, I think it is.
Well, God bless you both. You guys both look great. You guys are getting around, getting it done.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Staying busy in something you really enjoy doing is the difference in night and day. My kids are grown. I got 2 granddaughters. One's a 10th grader, one's a 7th grader. They're growing right up in front of my very eyes. My little 7th grader sent me a picture today. Grandpa got my braces off.
Wow.
Right before school started. She was so happy.
Oh, that's a big day.
She celebrates. She celebrates.
Right in time for school to start?
Grandpa got
her friends aren't going to recognize her probably.
She's just, I sent her a text back. I said, "You're beautiful and you look like your mother. Thank God." Not your dad. I bust his chops every now and then, but you have different priorities, John.
Sure.
As people say, JR, this fellow mentioned, he misses JR, the King and me King and I on Raw. Well, I miss doing the show. I ain't gonna lie to you about that. I'm not good at lying.
You probably don't miss Vince screaming in your ear.
I don't. Well, that never bothered me as much as a lot of the guys, because I worked with him on such a close level that we would eventually get by ourselves, and I would say, "What the hell's that about?"
Right.
And sometimes you say, "I don't know." He didn't know. He got caught up in the moment. Right. That's why he's good at what he does. He feels it. He's in it. So a lot of guys didn't like that heavy-handed producing.
Sure.
I don't like the TSA. And if I was watching you work at TSA, I respect what you do.
Right. Yeah.
I just like to go through the travel imaginations.
Yeah.
So if they had all these Raws in Norman, where I live in Oklahoma, I'd be there every Monday. But when you're on the road 51 weeks a year, and there's no off season, and doing live TV with no net, that's a burden. It's a good burden. It's a blessing or a curse.
Right.
But I'm at the point now to where, hey, it's a young man's deal. You guys go do it. They're not going to be like Lawler and me.
No.
And I don't mean that in that's really.
Well, you're speaking the truth, like you said. I mean, there's never going to be another. I grew up listening to Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah,
they were fantastic together.
Absolutely.
You and Jerry the King Lawler, fantastic together. Those combinations are rare in any kind of broadcasting, let alone sports entertainment, professional wrestling, and so. There'll never be another combination like Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. There'll never be another combination like Jerry the King Lawler and JR.
I'll tell you this, and the fans here in Nashville can certainly relate to this. There'll never be another Lance Russell.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
What a prince of a man and a great friend. And
just a true professional.
Oh yeah. When the King got Lance and I roles in the Man in the Moon movie. Jim Carrey, Milos Forman directed it. Jim Carrey, Paul Giamatti.
Great movie.
And we had our fun. I played Lance because I was doing the play-by-play in the movie. Lance was the ring announcer, which he did the ring announcing. He did all of it.
Right.
He did everything. And now you get a young talent getting this job. You ask him, you need to do the ring announcer and then hustle down the stairs, go do your. No, I can't do all that. It's a different work ethic. I'm a broadcaster. I'm not a ring announcer. And when I was young, that used to aggravate me too. So I said, "Boy, JR, you're doing a good job as a ring announcer." I said, "I'm not a ring announcer. I'm trying to tell you. I'm a play-by-play guy." So anyway, but Lance was one of the nicest men, human beings I ever met in any walk of life. And so Lance and I, and his wife Audrey, and my wife Jan, and I guess I'm the only one left of that little two couples. Wow, I didn't think of it that way. That's kind of hard to handle. We had such fun in L.A. filming this movie. And I remember, funny story real quick, one day they bring me my lines for the day. And it's pretty simple stuff. It's when Andy Kaufman made his entrance for the final big showdown with Jerry, and then I put the King in on. I did everything just like you would in a regular deal, right? But they ran out of script. They had like 2 minutes left in the scene, and they had no copy. So now they said, well, Milos Forman, who just passed away, is Oscar-winning director, says,
yeah, great director.
We'll have to, I guess we have to hold everybody over, the arena full of people, feed them, pay them again, while the writers are writing more copy. So I said, may I make a suggestion? Because I don't even know what to say, right? This guy's a big timer. I'm a wrestling announcer.
Right.
I'm an Okie from Oklahoma. What do I know? I said, Mr. Foreman, I said, I do this every week. I do this for a living. Exactly what you want in the scene. I know the scenes when it happened originally. I think I can do it without the script. And he said, oh, if you could do that, that'd save us blah, 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 blah. I said, well, the worst thing can happen, we try it.
Sure. And
we tried it. And I had one of those nice days where you kind of, everything looks, the baseball looks this big, boom.
Hit it out of the park, as usual.
And so on the dailies, somebody said that when they watched the dailies, Jim Carrey, who had demanded to be called Andy, as in Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, he really got into that role. He became Andy Kaufman.
Oh yeah, he wouldn't even answer or react if somebody said Jim or Mr. Carrey. He didn't know who that was. He's Andy.
Wow.
Or Mr. Kaufman to you, or me.
Right, of course.
Us heavy listeners. You're Mr. Kaufman to you there, JR. Okay. So, but they loved it. They couldn't believe, and I said, this is what we do. In the world of wrestling, when I did TV wrestling in the studios and then in little bit bigger venues and the weekly shows, I never had a script. I had an order of events.
Right.
I had notes that the matchmaker or whoever was in charge, say, make sure you say this about him.
Right.
Make sure you talk about this cage match coming up in 3 weeks or whatever.
Right.
That's it. There's no copy.
Right.
So that's just what we did. And I didn't look at it as a big challenge. I just look at this is your job, JR. Or you could be back in Oklahoma picking up rocks in your daddy's farm. I said, I'll stay here in the seat.
I want to go back to the phones. Is this legit, Taylor? All right. We have another WWE Hall of Famer on the line, joining us on line one. It is the legendary Hillbilly Jim. Hillbilly Jim, how are you, man?
Gentlemen, how's everybody this evening?
Oh, it's great to. Thanks you so much for calling in, man. I can't even talk right now. I got two legends that I'm talking to. First of all, I grew up watching you delight crowds for many years, and congratulations to you on going to the WWE Hall of Fame earlier this year. How are you, man? Thanks for calling.
Well, everything is just wonderful, and of course, anytime I find out JR is going to be anywhere, I'm a big fan. He's a buddy of mine. I just adore Jim Ross, and talk about him and the King. I was just all excited when I was hearing the conversation, and I wanted to say hello to you guys, and I want to tell you, man, if you want to have a good night, you got to go over there and you got to check out everything that the King and Jim Ross are doing. They're just two of the greatest guys ever, and I wish I was in Nashville today. Recording my Sirius XM radio show, or JR, I'd be down there tomorrow night with you.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
I'm going to get to, but boy, it sure is good to see you, and you're looking great, and you and the King are two special guys to me. We've came down some pretty dusty roads.
That's really it. Well, I'm on the sauce, Jimbo.
It's showing.
I'm on the sauce. It's JR's original barbecue sauce.
Oh, I know it. Hey, listen, and you know something? You were so good to put me in your book too. You put a Hillbilly Jim recipe in one of your books.
Oh, the first cookbook, yeah.
You doggone right. I ain't forgot about it. How you doing, buddies?
I'm good.
I saw you at WrestleMania in New Orleans, and we visited a little bit. How you doing? You look great tonight.
Thank you, buddy. I'm good. I'm feeling good, watching my diet, finally getting smart on a few things. I quit smoking about 4 years ago. I quit smoking the day after Oklahoma beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
We were 17.5-point underdogs. We go down there and win the game. And I said, man, this is a reason to celebrate. I want to live longer. I want to see more of these. I want to see more of these games.
I want to see some more of that.
Dang right, buddy.
Jim, let me ask you. You were right there in the '80s boom era with Hogan and Piper, and all these incredible cartoon characters come to life. You were on the Hulk Hogan cartoon. You were a big part of it. What do you remember about the '80s boom era for professional wrestling?
Well, I knew I was in a blessed time, and I knew I was lucky as I could be to be in a situation like that. And doggone, it just made me so doggone happy that I happened to be born in the right time, in the right decade, and got brushed up against some really great guys. I'm a firm believer in like I said in my Hall of Fame acceptance speech, I used a real big word at Jim Ross, and I lifted it from his induction speech. I'm a firm believer in opportunity, and I've always been a lucky guy. I knew when I got a good opportunity, and I'm never nothing but grateful for opportunity. So I had just an enchanted life in that business, and I got to do many of the things that Jim's been talking about, like be in territories and see what it was like to do the day-to-day, the business, and to be in the wrestling business, not just be someone that you'd see every once in a while, and then go about our business, because we lived it 24/7 in those days. Sure. And it was a magical time, and I wouldn't take nothing for it. And those 80s were just wonderful for me, and I still enjoy the product they put out today. I still enjoy watching the athletes perform today. As Jim said, it's just a different day in a different way. These young men are wonderful. They all have reverence, and all of them treat me just as nice as they could. And I've just been blessed to be a part of the business.
You know, all country music don't sound like Ernest Tubb anymore. Right?
Hey, what would we give for some good Merle Haggard right now?
Exactly.
Yeah. We talked about that.
God bless the Hag. But the point I'm making is obviously it's a different presentation in a lot of these areas. Yeah.
Sure it is.
And I we could go on all night. Well, the guys should slow down, this, that. But not having a territory and having to go back to the same towns every week on the same night in the same venue at the same time, it's challenging for these talents like Jim. And the other thing about Hillbilly Jim is that even though he was a character, obviously, he wasn't too far from what he is.
Right.
And so I
just a big old happy-go-lucky country boy, right,
yeah,
Jim?
Absolutely, big basketball player that's grinning all the time. So
no stretch for me. I just did my thing, and it was easy for me. I knew my thing, as Jim Ross and I've talked about. My thing that I needed to do was communicate with everyone out there watching me, and that's what my goal every day and every night was for Hillbilly Jim to communicate with the fans, whoever they were, wherever they were, every time. And I knew that as long as I got over with the fans and communicated with them, that everything else in my world would be okay.
Yeah.
Hillbilly Jim, we would love to have you here in studio to spend an hour with us. Would you come by sometime and do the show with us?
Well, I sure would be glad to, but I didn't want to jump on you guys' time, but I saw Jim, and I want to talk about Lawler and stuff. I was with Jerry a few weeks ago down in Raleigh, North Carolina, when he got some bad news about his son. Yeah. And I've just been thinking about him. So, JR, if you would pass along my thoughts and prayers to the King, and yes, I'll come and visit with you guys anytime you'd like for me to. But I'm such a mark for Jim Ross. Anytime I see him, I got to say hello to him.
And real quick, your show on Sirius, plug that real quick.
Yeah, I have a show called Hillbilly Jim's Moonshine Matinee. I've been doing it. I'm going into my 14th year.
Wow. Amazing.
It's in Outlaw Country, Channel 60. It's a weekend show. Comes on Saturdays and Sundays. A 4-hour show on Channel 60. I'd like for you to check in sometime. I have interviews from time to time, and I play, like I say, great blocks of country songs. And I talk about, I usually go to the older songs. Mm-hmm. I bring in some of the new ones, but it's an Outlaw Country. We've got outlaw varied taste, and a lot of these songs that me and Jimmy like to listen to, I play on there, and I've been blessed with that, and I realized I never would have got that wonderful Sirius XM radio show for all these many years had it not been for my great career and my wonderful time spent in this business. So there again, the power of opportunity keeps hitting for Jim.
Hillbilly Jim, God bless you, sir, and thank you so much for calling in tonight.
Thank you, Jimbo. Good hearing from you.
JR, take care. I'll see you down the road, brother.
I hope so.
Bye.
Wow, what a treat to have the legendary Hillbilly Jim, WWE Hall of Famer, call us tonight. I'm not sure.
I'm kidding.
I do know this. We got to take a break. We're going to come back. I want to talk about your book, and I want to talk about your podcast as well.
Sure.
WWE Hall of Fame announcer Jim Ross is with us here on Sportsline. We're back right after this.